It's been a few short weeks since our last adventure, delivering the now-named Scotty Burst to Tampa, Florida. Now, Trevor and I find ourselves heading all the way back across the country once again, this time to Miami, to deliver another 59 Burst to its new home. But first we had to pick it up from a city that is quite familiar to any musician out there, Nashville, Tennessee. My name is Ken Lapworth, and I'd like to introduce to you the Reverend. Our first morning in Nashville, we were greeted at our hotel by New Zealand-born Australian-American legend Keith Urban. There was only really time for business today, so we took Trevor alone to dig through a warehouse full of incredible gear. But if you know Trevor, you know he always manages to grab a few photos for the friends of our store. Our next task was to pick up the Reverend from its current home, Jesse's Guitar Lounge.
We have made it to the mecca of coolness. I got Jesse Knutson right here. This whole room is so beautifully curated. He's one of my favorite noble custodians, if you will. He collects gear, flips it, trades it. He's had his hand on everything. And right now we're kind of looking at the perfect puzzle. Vintage guitars, some modern pieces. I mean, this is my heaven right here. And yeah, so Jess is one of our best buddies. He's from Seattle, moved out in Nashville. You've been a country music reporter out here for one of the local news channels. You've had your hand in so many things. And I just want to take a second to appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a lot of fun.
We have had a lot of fun. Yeah. Every time we come to Nashville, it's a whole thing. We fill up these 3 days with food, all the guitar shops, all our buddies, country musicians, and Jesse knows all that. Not only did you literally broadcast it on live television, but you live and breathe this stuff, man. You're an encyclopedia.
As somebody who told stories professionally for a living for more than 10 years, the stories are a huge part of it, It's really cool because this 00028 right here is from 1937. I know nothing about its past, who owned it or anything. That makes it almost cooler to me in some instances because who knows who could have played that? Was it in Nashville? Was it international? I have no idea, but it's an incredible guitar, sounds great, was obviously played, but not too much to destroy it. But then you got other guitars that just have, and amps that have incredible stories that really are so special, and the ones you know and the ones you don't know as well.
We're traveling around with, yet again, just another trip that revolves around a guitar, and it connects all these people from restaurants to art to clothing and they have this life that just swirls around them. All these relationships that come to fruition just based, overseas through the internet, and they all revolve around this unique piece of wood. It's amazing, man. This guy who bought it in 1959 had no idea what that was going to blossom into, and
Now obviously the Reverend is always a pleasure to play, but you're right, guitars do bring people together. Just that burst. I brought it to Brad Paisley to check out. Vince Gills played it. Ed King played it. He played Sweet Home Alabama on it. So it's stuff like that. It's just you can't even describe it.
Wow.
So I'm sad to let the guitar go, but
it stings to let some things go, but it's been cool to see trace them going all over the world. Jesse, I love you, brother. Thank you so much,
Absolutely,
man. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So we're on Broadway right now. We're gonna go meet my buddy Bailey Griffith. I met Bailey years ago when he was guitar teching for The Head and the Heart, Father John Misty, tons of people. He's cool as hell. He's a great tech, an awesome guy. So he's gonna do the setup.
Hi, it's me, Bailey. We're in Nashville. It's a burst. It's a gorgeous burst. It's a 59 burst. And that's about it. I'm from Mobile, Alabama. Moved here in 2010, so 11 years ago, I think. And just because I was touring and seemed like small town Alabama was not the place to just have gigs. I skateboarded my whole life growing up, And it was like, before music, that was like it for me. I was just like, dude, skateboarding is the coolest thing you could do as a job ever, you know? And so I was like, that's what I wanted to do. And then I realized, like I said, pretty early on that it was like, I had to pick one or the other, because like I couldn't fall and break my wrist and then try to fix a guitar, you know? So the last year I've just been like hardcore skating, because I know there's like an end in sight, which is, you know, like as soon as touring starts again. Between my junior and senior year of high school, I had a friend who was friends with this hardcore band called The Ghost Inside, and they needed a merch guy. So I was like, I'm 18, like I'll do it, you know? And so I went out with them on like a month-long tour and literally was like, this is it. Like touring is what I want to do. And started touring, selling merch, and then realized pretty quickly that I'm like not really a people person. So I started telling hardcore bands that I was a guitar tech, even though I wasn't, and was just like, yeah, dude, I can restring your guitar, what's up? And so I started touring with like really shitty bands and just learning trial by fire, you know, and then fast forward to 13 years later, I know what I'm doing now. You know, I was like, I gotta figure this out because this is the gig I wanna stick with. I would do a 6-week tour and get paid like $300 at the end of it, you know? So it's like, I was not even getting paid, but it was like, I was okay with it because I was 18 and, you know, it's like, all my friends were at college and I was like, it's all right, I'm gonna stick it out, not get paid, it'll be worth it in the long run. And now I see all those friends at home and they're just like, dude, how did you end up doing all this cool stuff? And I'm like, because when you guys were like at school or doing all this stuff or like having fun, I was like in Iowa, sleeping on a floor of a van, freezing, you know, like making no money, being like, why am I here? It wasn't just like an easy gig for me. And then in like 2015, 2014, I started doing like Saves the Day, Head in the Heart, Broken Social Scene, Declan McKenna, Father John Misty, Dashboard Confessional. Like Saves the Day was one of those bands where like they were in that world of like Warped Tour bands, but Arun and Chris Connolly have some of the best guitars like ever, you know, like vintage Gibsons, like vintage Fenders. And I started working on those and started being like, dude, these are so much cooler than like these other guitars that I used to work on. Like how did that happen? And that became a pedal obsession, which became just a full-blown gear obsession where it's just like, that makes a huge difference, you know what I mean? Working with Father John Misty, you know, he's got a couple really cool old Gibsons and it's just like, you know, I get excited to work on them because it's like, I nerd out like we all do, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, yeah, dude, it's a burst. Like and not only is it a burst, it's gorgeous burst in like all original condition, you know what I mean? So it's like, you can't help but be stoked on it. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it's part of the job, you know? I think that's why I like touring, is the thrill of that, like being kind of constantly stressed out in a good way. And I get to work on guitars for a living, you know? Like how cool is that? Like to me personally, there's nothing cooler. So it's like, I'm gonna be stoked for any opportunity I get to do this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, any gig, like I'm always just like stoked.
Hey, Sean. Oh man, we're having such a great day. We are so freaking excited about this, dude. I've been like just obsessing from afar since before it opened, man. So I'll see you in like 3 minutes. All right, see ya. He is so nice. Wow, here we are. Joyland. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. Sean Brock, who is, I mean, come on, prolific chef. He's owned so many amazing restaurants in South Carolina, Atlanta, Nashville. I've been to all of them. He opened up Joyland not too long ago, and I'm so excited to check it out and give him a little gift we brought along. And we'll show him the burst, why not? What's up, dude? Can you keep this mask on? Give me up, dude. How you doing? Good to see you. Oh my gosh. Welcome, you're finally here. Finally, I'm on your turf at the same time, brother. Here. Welcome! Yeah! All right, before we get going, I gotta give you something, my bro. So,
you brought me a guitar?
Yeah, I brought you a burst. All right, so we did
seriously just carrying that around?
Yeah, we'll crack it open a bit. So first off, I did a limited run of Ebbitt's hats for this shop, and they disappeared. We had like 12 of them. The owner gave it, like finally did this, and all the employees took them. I had one that I was gonna save till I'm an old man, but I'm laying it on you. The one and only Emerald City Guitars Ebbett. But then, the owner of Ebbett, Jerry Cohen, wants to gift you 2 limited edition Nashville hats.
No way.
Boom, boom, that's from Jerry, man, and had to lay it on you, brother. So.
Come by more often.
Thank you for having us, man.
Thank you.
Hell
Amazing.
yeah, dude.
Incredible.
All right, so.
When I opened Husk, I pressured myself to create like this ultimate cheeseburger, and it's still there, and people still love it. But during all that, I did an incredible amount of research, like binders and binders and binders of the history of cheeseburgers, and I always had it kind of in the back of my head that I would open a place with just burgers someday, and this place just fell out of the sky, and we've had one of the craziest histories because we were set to open March 6th or March 7th. March 3rd, a tornado went through this street, took the basement east completely out.
Wow, I forgot how close basement
Oh
east
yeah, that's
is.
basement east right there. I mean, it was just nuts. And then the pandemic, it's been wild. It's been wild opening a restaurant during all this chaos, but it is why I love to cook and why I love having restaurants, is especially times like now, you just see the joy that at this slice of Americana and this style of food brings people, man. It's honestly a privilege. It really is, to be able to reduce someone's stress for a few moments. The name, I never even considered a name at all for a burger place. And I'm from this tiny little town in Virginia that never really even had a restaurant, maybe like a drive-in. But back in the 30s, there was a restaurant. I was looking through the history, doing research for my new restaurant, Audrey, which is heavily inspired by Appalachia. And I was flipping through, and I saw this sign that said Joyland, and I was like, man, that is the perfect name. I am stealing that. I mean, think about how much fun, like, going to a kid's birthday party is with balloons and all the wild colors and just that level of happiness and joy. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, it's fun. I'm here every day.
Hell yeah, man.
I hang out here as much as possible. It's just, it's contagious.
And you're playing some guitar on your free time these days?
Yeah, I was playing this morning, actually. It keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Definitely way more of a collector than anybody who has any talent.
Even,
To me, it all ties in together with the vintage stuff, ties in together with just my obsession and research with the history of food and the history of America and just the history in general. I'm so fascinated to watch something evolve over time, but I'm even more fascinated to look at a guitar like this, or a Telecaster or a Stratocaster that was realized and invented in the 1950s, and it hasn't changed.
I know. Tried, true, and trusted.
How's that even possible? And you can't improve on it. Like, that kind of genius is very inspiring. It's really, really, really inspiring. It's this idea that things used to be made with an immense amount of care and attention to detail, and we need to continue to think that way and to make products that way and to provide hospitality that way, and whatever it is that we do, let's slow down and think about all of the details that have lasted, time in the vintage guitar world, in vintage pedal world, vintage amp world, just vintage gear in general. Yeah, it's really inspiring. It's like, slow down and do it correctly. Use the right ingredients, and it'll last forever. It's the same thing with food. So I guess in everything that you could ever study or think about or be interested in, there's a pinnacle. There's this thing to chase. There's this thing to admire and be inspired by, and that's this guitar. When you plug in one of these guitars and you just hit a power chord, something visceral happens, and that's those kinds of responses out of something simple as just one chord can just totally transform just the way you look at things. Like once you hear this guitar, it's hard to hear anything else.
Yeah, I know it.
And so, how can I look at everything I do in that way? How can I make the 59 burst of cheeseburgers? It's so inspirational when somebody nails something like that, and it just continues to get better and better. I mean, so what's the math? It's 2021. This thing looks brand new.
Yeah, this is the cleanest example I've ever seen, and we were talking about that too, where you see some that the book's already been written, it's been handed around different texts, different players, different countries. This is kind of a special one that I'm excited about the new owner too, because it's kind of a blank canvas. It's so pristine and amazing, but it still has that subliminal depth and old growth resonance. It's ready to sing.
Man, like the case smells so good.
I know.
This should be a cologne.
Well, dude, I can smell the Joyland
man.
over there. I think that just hit the table, Sean.
Oh, yes.
Brother, I love you, man.
Likewise,
thank you so
man.
much,
Thanks for
dude.
bringing
This is
by.
an honor, and thank you so much, you guys.
Likewise.
And look up this restaurant, and just look up Sean Brock. He's a freaking legend. All right, thank you so much, Joyland. All right, we just left Joyland. We're all in food comas. That was unbelievable. Go there if you're in Nashville or if you're passing through. Unbelievable. We are heading to John Osborne, the Brothers Osborne, one of my all-time favorite bands and two of my favorite people. John's gonna bless the 59 burst before we fly out at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we're gonna do a stop over there. I think he's been recording all day, so I'm so stoked that he carved out a little bit of time to hang. And yeah, we finally get to plug this thing in, so here we go.
Yeah, we moved in here in October, which is kind of stupid, like to move in the middle of a pandemic when you're making like $0 fucking. And a long story short, saw the house, lived right there, saw the house, and I was like, man, I love that house. A friend of ours was living with us at the time, Fancy, Fancy. He got his house destroyed by a tornado, so he was living with us.
Did the roof come off?
Came off while he was in it. And anyway, he said the next day, he was like, dude, what's up with that house? I'm like, I don't know, it looked like it just materialized out of thin air. So Lucy and I was like, hey, let's go for a walk down Cedarwood, let's see what's going on down there. Really in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to see if the homeowner's out front. And sure enough, she was all the way at the front of her yard, like working on something. I told her I love the house. It's a long, kind of weird, crazy story. Basically, she was like, I'm the third owner, and I was like, well, if you're looking for the fourth owner, let me know. And she was, in a roundabout way, was like, yeah, I don't know, I don't think so. And then 6 months later, she knocked on the door and was like, hey, I think I'll do it. And then we just like, all right, bought it off the market. Fucking hand, man, I can't do. It's so frustrating. I'm like, as soon as I kind of want to go this way, it starts to hurt, and I'm like, oh, why? And I wasn't even drunk, which is the stupidest part about it. I was 2 Michelob Ultras in. Just gotta like play like this. Can't do it. What do you think about that? Not impressed. best ever. Like, it doesn't matter what I do. Is it less notes? It's less notes, right? More Miles Davis, less asshole.
Oh my god. Dude, I
have to take your jacket off.
Okay. I was trying to buy this guitar, and then I heard Johnny go, I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe you do that upside down. That's ridiculous.
Dude!
That thing is badass, dude.
I want this.
1935.
What is that? It's all about that fair.
It's all.
That's how you test it.
Yeah. It's got like. It's also got the perfect mid-range like honk.
Oh yeah.
Because I played a track. I don't have to. I'll EQ the low end off like you do with every acoustic guitar. But man, it's just like sticks right out through a track. Dope. Anyway, yeah, I'll show you the rest of the house. This is a dining room. Maybe you've heard of dining room. You see those a lot. Yeah, maybe. Rug to go on a rug. The kitchen's super cool. There's like the original fireplace in the house that runs all the way up. In the studio, there's the other side of the fireplace. Obviously, how they would have heated the house originally. And but it's very English. Lucy being English, she just fell in love with it. This feels like a kind of English cottage. Yeah. It's super cozy. Our other place is super rad too. I don't know if you ever saw it. No. Really cool place. But man, being on the river is everything. As soon as we walked over here, we got a cool little pool that we're still trying to figure out. I've never been a pool owner, and it turns out like it's kind of a ball like it's a lot of work. So we should pay someone else to deal with it. The only things, like this woman, Karen, who owned Flores, and her husband did most of the work. Like we still gotta get the bedrooms all situated in the house and stuff like that, but it's super fucking cozy.
So pretty.
This is where I sleep. It's my bedroom right there. It's pretty baller. I don't know. I would have made my bed had I known you were filming. Lucy would be so proud of me. This is like most of the work in the house. I don't ever fucking leave the bedroom. I just stay up here.
Yeah. Why would you leave this?
Yeah, I mean it's like being in a hotel.
Yeah.
Like the open plan, like that.
I love that. I love like hotel style.
You're gonna be here forever, right?
I plan on it. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know anywhere else I would rather be. But yeah, I love it, man. It's been so good for my well-being and my anxiety that I just have.
Yeah, I'm sure when you come out here, it's just like, okay, I'm all right.
I feel better just being here.
But in Maryland, I grew up in the Bay. I just grew up, not waterfront, but across the water. I spent my whole childhood on the water. So being by it, it's just like kind of cools everything down, slows all your atoms are just kind of like, all right, it's fucking cool. I love it, dude. I love it.
Thanks.
That is awesome. What's this guy's story?
He's a toy maker.
Sick.
After a perfect setup with Bailey Griffith, an incredible meal with Sean Brock, and a blessing from John Osborne, the Reverend was now ready to be taken to its new home near Miami. The camera was off, but it was a fantastic evening, and the next day, Charlie invited us and our friend David Von Bader to the family beach house to bid farewell to the guitar.
We're coming to the end of the trip. We dropped off the burst last night, but we ended up hooking up with my buddy David and Charlie again for lunch, and we're at the beach house now. We're just coming by. So we picked up the Reverend, but I made a couple calls to make sure it was okay with the previous owner to change the name of the burst, which is now called the Rabbi. So we're gonna come and bless this thing. What's up, man? Dude! Congratulations, dude.
Thanks, man. I love it.
Awesome, man. The Rabbi, baby.
The Rabbi.
Look at this place. Please do it.
Yeah, I think
Reverend to Rabbi, that's the new...
That's ridiculous.
The Reverend to the Rabbi, baby.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Correct.
Meet the Rabbi.
So awesome.
This is gorgeous. Congratulations.
Thank
man.
you.
Seriously.
It's really something special to realize that none of us would be here in the same room if it weren't for this one guitar. And for that, we're all grateful. Charlie, thank you for inviting us in. You have a wonderful family, and congratulations on acquiring one of the greatest instruments on the planet. It was now time to head home, and even though this is a trip that we'll always remember, we were looking forward to crawling into a familiar bed and dreaming about all of the awesome experiences we'd had throughout the last few days. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you for the next adventure where we take a private tour of the brand new Gibson garage with the one and only Mark Agnesi.